Hey, what's up everyone? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the SH Figuarts Luigi figure. A lot of people have been really excited for Luigi. I am kind of one of those people. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm a pretty big Nintendo fan. I grew up playing Nintendo from the very beginning. For the longest time I was only a strictly Nintendo player. I never converted to anything else, at least not for a very long time. So these guys are pretty important to me to have in the collection. I'm really excited to have some higher quality Nintendo figures coming out, and I hope this trend continues. That said, you guys know probably that when this guy came out right here, my review wasn't exactly the nicest review for this figure. And most people, myself included, thought that Luigi was probably gonna have about the same response, and it pretty much is. They didn't really do much different. It's basically the exact same figure, just kind of elongated. They didn't use the same parts for anything. It looks like to me they are all unique. Maybe the boots are the same. I didn't check the boots that closely. I think the boots, no, they look like they're probably even a little bit different. So they didn't use any of the exact same parts, at least on the outside. But that's kind of disappointing because, I mean, that's not disappointing. That's okay. That's what I was hoping for. But the problem is, and that's what I was trying to get at, the articulation isn't enhanced at all by the longer, skinnier version. Luigi doesn't have any better articulation, so it's a little disappointing in that regard. But we'll talk about the goods and the bads in a second. For now, let's set Mario aside and let's look at Luigi and his accessories first. He stands, and of course it depends how you pose his legs, but he stands just about 4.5 inches tall to the top of his head. You'll see a size comparison with Mario later. He comes with a bit more stuff than Mario did, so that's a really good thing. I'm pretty happy about that. He comes with the green base. He comes with the multi-jointed upright piece, the clear Tamashi stand. So that's pretty nice. This one, if you'll notice, has shorter segments and an extra hinge in there. So that's good. And you guys know from Mario that they don't have peg holes in them anywhere. You have to take this piece out. Mario didn't come with this. It had to be purchased separately. Luigi does. You can just swap this piece in right here, and you can use the stand on Luigi. So that's a really nice thing. Hopefully that was on camera. It probably wasn't. But you guys get the idea. Luigi comes with the stand, and you can see that that's a much better thing than not coming with the stand. Mario kind of got shafted in that regard. Luigi did not. So that's a huge improvement just right there. So kudos to Bandai for that. I'm really happy about that. He also comes with his interchangeable hands, which are these open hands that we saw with Mario. I assume Luigi's aren't the exact same sculpt, just like the fists aren't exactly the same. I didn't check Mario's hands to compare because it's not really important, but he does come with them and they just pop on, as you would expect. And they have these little square holes in them because he comes with these clear pegs. You get 2 bent ones and 2 straight ones. I'll just show you one of each. And those are so that you can hold his turtle shell, which I've seen better paint jobs, but it looks good enough. I'm not going to really complain about that. The black could definitely be cleaner, but it's okay. It looks good enough. Anyway, those clear pegs can actually peg into, I don't know if you can see them or not, but there are peg holes inside these black areas. And then those will peg in, and that's how he's going to actually hold the shell to keep it in his hands. So there's that. You get the shell, and then lastly you get a brick, a square brick, which is done well. Really no complaints at all about that. So he definitely comes with some more stuff. Accessory-wise, he's far beyond Mario, so that's a huge improvement. Okay, and something I would like to address quickly, I posted something on Facebook and a bunch of people agree with me, and then a bunch of people started saying, oh, you're wrong, and really, we were having 2 different conversations. I don't think the people were understanding what I was saying, the ones that were disagreeing with me. This figure, okay, it's like a $25 figure roughly, so I understand that there are production costs that can't go into it. You know, they have to keep the price down since they're trying to sell at that price point. Therefore, it's not going to be the most impressive figure in the world. I get that. That makes sense. It's a $25 figure. You're getting $25 worth. For the most part, that's fine. Do I wish it was a more expensive figure, 40 bucks maybe, and better articulation and everything? Yes. but it's not, so that's not an issue. The thing I was trying to convey, I guess it wasn't getting across, is that for the price point, there are things they could have done that wouldn't have increased the cost, that would have made this figure much more, a much better value, and I'll get to that as we go. So let's look at the paint real quick. He doesn't have a whole lot of paint. It's mostly all just molded plastic, so that's either good or bad depending on how you look at it. It doesn't bother me. You don't have to worry about scratches so much, so everything looks pretty good. We do have some paint for the buttons, which is a really nice gloss. I'm pretty sure even the chest pieces that are green are not painted. Maybe the center one, but I think these outside ones are separate pieces. It looks like they might be. I think they're separate pieces, so we don't have to really worry about scratches or anything there. The hands are molded in white, so we don't have to worry about any sloppy white paint. But they seem to be okay with white paint because they painted the L, well, they painted the negative space around the L very well. Perfectly white, semi-glossy, looks great. The paint on the face, really no complaints. The eyes are still a little bit dot matrixy like on Mario. You can't get in there too well to see them. Maybe we can on Mario, I don't know. They're basically the same eyes. You can see the dots, and that's not just because we're zoomed in. You can see them in real life too. It's not horrible though, and they do look really good just with the naked eye. As long as you're not looking for problems, the eyes look really nice, so that's good. Paint-wise, we're fine. Molded plastics, we're fine. You can see the blue is a little bit different than Mario, so that looks pretty good. Mario's yellow is not quite as clean, so improvement for Luigi right there, so that's good. So now let's talk about the articulation, because the sculpt is good. Everything looks good, obviously. It looks like Luigi to me. Of course, there are different versions of Luigi. Somewhere is a little more realistic looking, a little more maybe athletic looking, not necessarily athletic, but more practical looking. And this isn't that one, but I'm okay with that. That's fine. Head sculpt looks good. So articulation wise, let's start with the feet. It's same as Mario. We have a double ball peg in there. So the foot can move around fairly well, and it can move around in that bottom ball peg also. Doesn't give you too much of an ankle rocker, but it is in there. You can bring it forward some, but not a whole lot, and that kind of looks strange. So I'm not sure why they went with that double ball peg, other than so that you can kind of pull it out like that and move it around and then mush it back up in there to look good. So I can get that. To me, I think a ball hinge might have been better suited. I can't say for sure, but that's neither here nor there because it works fine as is. And then we have the knee joint, which is just a hinge. Let's go on this side so you can see a little bit better. It's just a hinge. You can see the hinge right there, and you can bend the knee. Not quite 90 degrees. This is one of those things where it wouldn't have cost them any more to shape this a little bit differently so that we can get better range of motion out of that. I'm not saying we have to resculpt the whole knee. I understand that it needs to be kept there, but this part right here, they could have done something, just a little less material, a little something, maybe tuck it in a little bit more to give us a better knee bend. That would have been much appreciated. It's okay as is. You get almost 90 degrees, but I think we could have gotten a lot more without spending any more money. Now, for the hips, we have basically a ball peg. So the hip can swivel around on that ball peg, and it can move in and out that much. This is an area where we really could have used more articulation. Bringing the leg out to the side would have given this guy so much more posability. We don't have that though. So if they could have changed that for the price point, I don't know. They definitely could have if this guy was maybe $5 or $10 more. It would have been easy to put a hinge on the side here to bring the leg up. They didn't do that, so it's a little disappointing. It's going to be very limited posing for the lower region. Now we can bring the leg forward. You can see the seam here that allows for the leg to come all the way forward. So can't really say too much about that. That works all right. So most of your posing is going to happen like that. You're not going to get much more out of the legs other than a jumping pose or a running pose or a standing pose. There's no waist swivel, unfortunately. Again, that would come at a higher price point, which I wish it was, but it's not. So I can't really complain about that. So for the shoulders, we have a ball hinge. So it swivels around in the torso, obviously, and then you can see the seam there where the shoulder is separate from the ball itself. There's actually a bicep swivel in there, but that's really limited. So the bicep swivel doesn't do much, and this is the part here in the shoulder that drives me nuts. you can't raise the arm. You have to bring it out this way, but then it's sticking forward. You cannot get the arm out to the side. So that, I think, is something they could have done better. They could have retooled the way the shoulder is sculpted where it connects. They could have reshaped this part right here on the arm itself just to give us more range of motion with what we have. We don't need a whole new joint setup. We know a ball hinge works fine, so that could have been better, I think. So it does suffer from a lot of the posing issues that Mario suffers from, despite being a new mold. I think they could have tweaked a few things a little bit more than they did. That's what I'm getting at. So we ball hinge with the bicep swivel, and then the elbow is the same style as the knee, only we don't get 90 degrees out of that. And that's just like the knee, something they could have easily done. They didn't give us 90 degrees, and they could have without making the figure cost more, so that's pretty disappointing. We have a wrist swivel here. It's at an angle though, which I don't understand why. So just like on Mario, that's pretty strange that it doesn't just rotate normally. And they could have given us better articulation. But again, $20, $25 price point, that's going to limit what they can do. But putting it on at an angle, that's just strange. Okay, so for the head, we get a ball hinge, but that's all we get out of it. And he's got plenty of room. His neck has plenty of room, not like Mario, who has no neck to speak of. Luigi's got a bit of a neck, so we could have had a lot more range of motion. We essentially just have a swivel. Looking up and down that much doesn't accomplish much at all. So it's things like that. It's just a little bit disappointing. Things that could have been better without costing more that aren't. So do I recommend the figure? Yeah, it's 25 bucks. It's fine for 25 bucks. You know, it's a decent, good figure. Just could have been so much better without costing more. And then if it did cost more, it could have been even way better. So that's where the disconnect is for me. I wish it was better for the price point, even though it's still worth it. I think it could have been more worth it without costing them anything. And I think it would have been better if we had better ones in general with waist swivels and things like that. But that's for another topic, for another day. So I'll post some photos here at the end so you guys can see what you can get done with this guy. And I will be reviewing the option part set in a separate video. So keep an eye out for that, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting. And there comes the cat.